Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we are going to be talking about the changes to the Titan Crystal. And that's not just, the champions going in and out in December, because that we kind of already know. However, there are more encompassing changes coming in the game with the Titan Crystal and also champion release in general. So first let's break down the post here and then let's see what we think about it. In 2025, 3 idle champions in our regular release pipeline will receive alternate release mechanisms, including ways to awaken them outside of regular Crystal and Titan Pool releases. That'll be kind of similar to Deathless Champions, where we can awaken them if we already have them by, doing the special objective in Attend to Your Pain or some similar strategies. Including these champions in the Titan Crystal, when many players will already own them, will devalue the crystal. Kind of agree. Then again, if they are very SIG reliant, it might be nice to get SIGs on them, but fair enough, I agree to that to an extent. This conflicts with our goal of increasing the value of Titan Crystals over time. Well, Titan Crystals have definitely seen better value in the past. Let's just leave it at that. But that has nothing to do with the release schedule. That has to do with fairly underwhelming champions being released and then not tuned. Additionally, we have heard from our summoners that they want to see a Titan Crystal with more newly released champions in it rather than fewer. Removing new champions from the Titan pool without additional changes would do the opposite, creating more spots that need to be filled by the existing champions. Here the logic is, if they do not include new idle champions, which, by the way, I need to explain to you, idle champions is going to be a new tag in the game, like Isophene. So in 2025, there will be 3 more Isophene Kabam original creation type champions. And they do not want them to have like a regular champion releases. And since they will still be taking up a champion spot over the month, that would mean that, for instance, in Titan Crystal, instead of 4 champions new and 2 old ones randomly coming to the game, they would have to do 3 and 3, for instance. That would result in changing Titan Crystal from being approximately 66% brand new champions released recently to about, 50%. So, Kabam doesn't want to do that, and they are gonna change the cadence of the release. As a result of these factors, we have decided to change the way the Titan Crystal rotates next year. It will move to a roughly 3 months update cadence, from 2 months. This means we can exclude the idols and also generally reduce the numbers of older champions entering the Titan Crystal. Now, this in itself is not necessarily music to my ears, to a degree, because often the older champions are what give the Titan Crystals more value. If you look at the current Titan Crystal, for instance, several of the more wanted and valuable champions in there are actually the ones that Kabam is adding and that we can get, instead of, let's say, Silver Sable, when we used to be able to pull, let's say, Blue Cage, or can do Nova now, or the Hood if you do manage to awaken him, or, so on and so forth. So, that has its ups and downs, because if they add less champions to the Titan Crystal, that generally means less 7-star champions are entering the game, period. Because outside of these special events like Banquet or Valentine's Day event or Omega event or something of the sort, Titan Crystals are kind of the main way how Kabam is bringing the 7-star rarity to the game for the older champions. Which, again, I kind of understand why they want to slow that down, because in each class, most of the champions that are middle of the pack are already released. For instance, if we look at, the Cosmic class, right? They wouldn't want to release OG Thor, because he's going to be doing a smack ton of damage. And, we have a ton of these champions. Well, they're effectively going to run out of champions, and they would have to add in, like, Gallons and Herculeses and CGR and stuff like that. And if they slow down the champions added to the Titan Crystal, which means they can further delay the best champions, the champions that they are afraid of coming to the game. Something similar that they used to do via one way or another in past as well, which is the reason why it took so long for, let's say, 7-star OG Thor to be added and stuff like that. Because once they approach the end point of, most champions being in the game as 7-stars at the highest rarity, they kind of wanted to milk it out for longer and make every new champion release like a bigger thing to motivate players to spend more. And, previously when, this is the first time we see like, a 6-star Wolverine in the game, players will want that, even if Wolverine isn't that great of a champion, just because of, who he is. And now Kabam is certainly going to be able to drag out the release of 7-star champions further as well. So when they do release a Doctor Doom, they can make it a big thing. So when they do release, Hulkling, they can make it a massive, massive type of thing. This new cadence will be applied starting at the start of 2025, meaning that the next Titan Pool rotation will happen in December, March, and then June. So that is going to be the timeline. December, March, June, and then you would realistically look at like August or October, and then again at the end of the year. To facilitate this change, Dazzler will be taking Isophine's spot in the March pool. And Rintrah has been added to the final 2 months rotation pool in December. So Dazzler is not going to be in the December Titan Crystal, and Rintrah will be. So here is kind of the good thing. We are going to get the beefy boy as 7-star. I do like that addition. I think Rintrah is a cool champion to have as 7-star. I know that some people will not like the fact that Dazzler will end up getting pushed back. But again, Dazzler is going to be a champion that we will acquire through some sort of track or a card. And Dazzler will be more wildly available than most other release champions. And Isophine, obviously, we're going to be getting for free in December as well, via the login calendar. So overall, I kind of get why they're doing it, because they want to, diversify the way they release champions, do more of these like tracks or special events, or do something, like Deathless champions and then release Deathless Thanos. And that in itself is kind of a good thing, I suppose. Now, on the other hand, this change means that, in order to acquire newer champions, because let's face it, most of the middle of the pack players that are not, overly aggressively spending on the game do not get to open many Titan Crystals, and they typically end up waiting until the champions enter the basic pool before they have like a realistic, decent chance to get those champions. And they become, more commonly available as well, because, you do open significantly fewer Titan Crystals. And also the fact that the Titan Crystals themselves will change, much longer, means that the acquisition of the latest champions will inherently be slowed down every 3rd month. And that's, not necessarily good for community. Again, I don't also think this is like end of the world type stuff. I am kind of cautious of all of this because, again, I do think whenever Kabam writes something and pretends that it's good for players, it often isn't. In fact, most of the time it isn't. And again, I do think that the salt, or the thing that we are meant to read between the lines here, is largely the fact that with this, Kabam can kind of slow down the release of old champions as 7-stars in the game. And the new champion acquisition will be slightly slower. So for instance, if a Titan Crystal has just changed, you will have ever so more incentive to chase and or spend for the latest champion, because now instead of thinking that you have to wait 2 months and you have a chance to pull them, you would have to wait 3 months. Again, ultimately, I don't think that is like the end of the world. I'm just not necessarily sold on whether it is great for the players inherently, having a longer life cycle of each Titan Crystal. Because now, when we were able to cycle out just about any champion from the Titan Crystal in 6 months, Now that will be 9 months. Like I know a lot of people who do not want to open any Titan crystals, for instance, whilst, you know, Silver Sable and, you know, the House Elves and stuff like that are in it. And, you know, waiting, let's say, 4 to 6 months is entirely different than it is waiting out 9 months. But that said, I am quite excited for Idol Champions. I will make a separate video for them as well, because I do think it is quite an interesting information. I do like that the Rintrah is getting added. And even with the negative implications, I don't think it's, you know, end of the world for the champion acquisition at all. And I kind of look forward to new different types of champion releases as well. So, let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So, we have all the information